Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Mormonism with the Murph, where we do a fair and objective analysis of the church and its truth claims, its history, doctrine, and policy. I'm really excited for today's episode. I have with me an old friend from my mission. I'm doing an interview with McKenzie Lee, or as I knew her, Sister Shields. McKenzie, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. It'll be
Yeah,
fun.
I'm super excited for this. So I met McKenzie at the Missionary Training Center in Provo. We both went to the Canada Calgary mission. Unfortunately, we didn't get to serve that much around each other, but we were in the same district at the MTC. And Sister
Mhm.
Shields was honestly one of the nicest and smiliest, and she still is one of the happiest people I'd met, and very, very Mormon. But unfortunately, we didn't get to serve around each other too much on the mission. But then, so recently, McKenzie you put up a post, I think it was a month or two ago, about
Mhm.
that you were no longer going to the church, that you've left the church, that you've lost your faith. And a few years ago, I went through a faith crisis and I lost my faith and stepped away from the church. I remember I put up a public post about it. And one thing that was really nice that McKenzie did was I remember you were one of the first people that commented. And actually, a lot of the people who commented on my post were really loving, really supportive. There was the odd people that were annoying and judgmental. But I
Mhm.
remember McKenzie saying that it didn't change the way she thought about me and that I was still one of the nicest people she'd ever met. And that meant so much to me at the
Oh,
time. And then,
yeah.
and so fast forward, 3 years, kind of like a bit of a reversal.
Yeah.
You've now stepped away from the church, and I thought, well, I'm going to reach out to you, contact you, show empathy. I've kind of been where you've been in some ways, and
Mhm.
honestly, just want to have you on to just share your story and your experience. So hopefully this
Yeah.
will be really good.
Yeah. I hope whoever's listening enjoys it. I don't know. I don't think
They
I'm
will.
special anyway. But I think that it's important that people understand where people that leave the church, where we're coming from.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. There can be, I think, a lot of labeling and a lot of judgments of those who leave the church. Either they're offended, or they just want to sin, or they're just apostates. They've been deceived, and there can be a lot of demonizing of those who leave over real, genuine issues that people struggle with. And we're going to
mhm.
definitely talk more about what caused you to lose your faith and experience your faith crisis and leave the church. But we're going to begin to get to know a little bit about you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about sort of like where you're from, where you were born. Tell us about like your family, how many generations they go back in the church, your childhood, primary. Just talk about growing up in the church,
All that fun stuff. Yeah.
all that
I
good
mean,
stuff.
so I'm from Utah, Davis County, so like a really concentrated Mormon place, obviously. Um, but
What percentage would you say are Mormons?
oh man, I actually like went back and I thought, I mean, probably 98% in my elementary school
Oh my
was Mormon,
goodness.
and like in high school it was probably 96. Like I think Bountiful, because I went to Bountiful High, I remember some statistics saying like we had the most seminary um enrollment in ever out of everywhere. It
Wow.
A lot of people were Mormon,
Wow.
and still are obviously, but yeah, very concentrated.
A lot of Mormons. Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm guessing you were born and raised in the church. How many
I
generations
was.
do your family go back?
I don't. It's kind of complicated. So my mom, she was raised in the church, but she has a lot of family that aren't part of the church. Either some of her family is like either super LDS or they're atheist. So I grew up around that, and I kind of saw both sides of that. I mean, I had a lot of exposure to like uncles and aunts that were doing drugs and using alcohol, and like non-traditional families, suicide, so all of that. So my mom is kind of I don't know how many generations back. I should probably ask her. But there was a lot of mixed faith in there.
Mhm.
And my dad's family was super LDS, like pioneers. But we weren't super close with them. Just just how our family was really. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But so yeah, I was raised LDS. But we weren't like super strict. Like we were LDS, but like, I mean, we would go to church on Sunday, but if we needed to go to the store, we would,
Okay.
out of necessity. We never went to church on vacation, but I mean, all of my friends were LDS. I believed in it wholeheartedly. I loved it. I loved being Mormon. I really did. But yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
would you and your family have done like family prayer, family scripture study, family home evening regularly?
We tried. It didn't last very long.
No.
No. No, we all were super busy with our own schedules and we didn't really get together. I mean, I never remember doing family home evening, but I mean, I don't feel like that really affected my testimony. Um, I I was grateful that I was able to study on my own and not feel like, oh, let's all get together and have family prayer. Sometimes we would say a prayer. I mean, we would always say prayers over dinner, but that's
Yeah.
about it. So
No, I
yeah.
know it was the same in my family. We tried to do family home evening, we tried to do family prayer and scripture study, but it was just hard getting the whole family together, making it consistent. And me and my siblings were just didn't want to do it. How many
Yeah.
siblings do you have, by the way?
I have an older brother and a younger brother.
Okay. Are they still both in the church?
No, I'm not sure about my older brother. He's kind of, I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. My younger brother hasn't been to church in years.
Okay.
So
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, so you're going to primary, then you went to young women's, I'm guessing you did seminary.
mhm.
Could you talk about maybe your experiences? Did you go to like EFYs, temple trips? Maybe talk about maybe your experiences growing up in the church. And did you
Yeah.
feel like you had a testimony or have any sort of spiritual experiences that you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I loved primary. Like primary was so fun for me. And it's funny because I was baptized at 8 and 1 month
Oh,
because I broke my arm and I couldn't get baptized until I got my cast off. But my little brother, he didn't want to get baptized until he was almost about 9. And that really opened my eyes to like, oh, people can choose. People have agency. What? They can choose not to get baptized. But that was really interesting to me because I hadn't really thought about that before. It's just like you kind of just do what you need to do to be a good member.
yeah.
But that really opened my eyes to that. And then when I went into young women's, like, oh, I loved young women's like way more than primary. Like
Really?
I was with my people. Like I was
Reciting the young women's
yeah.
value every week.
Every week had that memorized. It was so fun and all the activities and each lesson on Sunday, like I had amazing leaders. My leaders were I was really blessed with some really amazing leaders and um I'm still close with a lot of them today. And so that was really nice and it was
Yeah.
fun having like my friends in there because I had friends in the ward. Um
Out of
yeah,
curiosity, how many other young women were there in your ward? Because I'm guessing it's very different to probably the wards over here in the UK. How many young women were there?
yeah, like my age, just my age, like same grade, there were 4 of us, and then like in like Beehive, Young or Beehive, my maid, Laurel, like we had about 8 to 10
Okay.
in each, and then total there was like 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And
There
I'm
were,
guessing a lot of young men as well.
yep, same with the young men. We
Yeah.
were really close too. Yeah. How was it where you were at?
So growing up in young men's, there's about me and one other most of the time. Sometimes we had some people come in just the activities, but regularly it was me on my own until I was 14. And then this boy called Adam, he came in when he was 12. And then it was just me and him pretty much all of my young men life. There's more young women though. There's about maybe 5 or 6 young women,
Yeah.
maybe more at certain periods. So not as big as yours.
Yeah, that's crazy. Lots of
Big
one-on-one
difference.
And yeah, yeah, big difference. And you know, my favorite part was probably like the camps, like young women camp, and I loved youth conference. I went to youth conference twice, and those were really big spiritual experiences for me. And the second time I was able to be on the council that like planned it, and that was really amazing too. And those were like my foundation, that was the foundation of my testimony. That's how I knew without a doubt that the church was true, because I had so many amazing experiences there, and I still stand by that. I think those were really good at developing my, like, who I was as a person too.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. I loved it. So
I can resonate with that, because I can think of my experience at EFY, temple trips, youth conferences. It was a combination of the social element of just the really good fun and the amazing people and friendships you made. And also, would you have said maybe at some testimony meetings or in some spiritual classes that you would have believe that you would have felt the spirit in those sort of occasions, and that would have been like a confirmation, like this is true to you as well?
Yeah, I definitely had those warm fuzzies all the time, every time at church, when I bore my testimony, which, I mean, I was actually a pretty shy kid. I didn't really like to open up and share my testimony with other people, because that's vulnerable and scary. But when I did that, it was really helpful to me. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And did you feel like you ever, like you alluded to that you studied the scriptures yourself, did you feel like you gained a personal testimony from scripture study, or did you ever do like Moroni's promise and pray and feel like you got an answer that way? Was that part of your testimony as well?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, and this is a common theme throughout my life. I read the scriptures, not every day though. I read maybe like, I don't know, I don't even know. And I felt really guilty that I didn't read it every day, and I didn't pray every day, and I wasn't doing all of these things. And it was really impactful, because I just felt so guilty that I wasn't being perfect.
Yeah.
And I clung on to that, and it really made me become depressed and anxious, and I didn't know if God really loved me, because I wasn't being perfect. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's probably so disappointed in me because I'm not doing what he's asked. He's given me so much, and I can't do this one thing, or two things, what he's asking me to do. But I mean, I did have experiences with reading the scriptures that I was like, yeah, this is true. This does make me feel good. Like, the Book of Mormon's awesome, but I didn't read the Book of Mormon full all the way through until just before my mission. So go ahead.
No, and it just made me think that there can be that perfectionism in sort of like the culture of the church, that we feel like we have to be perfect, and it's kind of like links to scrupulosity, which in psychology is feeling that you need to be perfect. And in the church, works is a big focus, and we're told to be a good Latter-day Saint, to be faithful, you need to be keeping the commandments, you need to be praying every day, you need to be reading your scriptures every day. And if you feel like you're not meeting the bar, if you're not achieving that, it can create guilt. It can create, like you said, anxiety. You can start to question, does God love me because I'm not feeling perfect enough? I think there's a lot of people who, like yourself, have felt that and have experienced that growing up in the church.
Definitely. And I mean, like, there's always repentance, right? But I had a hard time with repenting. Like, I didn't know if I was doing it right. I didn't know, like, when I repent, does it erase all of my sins? Or I just got so caught up in all the technicalities of it. Like, how does that even work? Because I mean, from a Mormon standpoint, like, we really can't understand how it works. Like, it's so much larger than us, But I was like, I don't even know if this is working, because I don't feel like my sins are being forgiven. But so that left me guilty too, So I don't know, it was just tough. And when this is a big part of my life, like, when I was 11 or 12, my dad, he left the church. He went to my mom and was like, I don't believe that Joseph Smith was a prophet. I don't believe in all of these things. And I just remember feeling like, are you kidding me? Like, of course he's a prophet, of course. And I felt so disappointed that my dad would even like look into like anti-Mormon material. Like, are you kidding me? Like, how could he do that to himself and to us? And so he didn't go to church with us from when I was in Young Women's on. And then when I was 16, him and my mom separated. So he was no longer living in the house. And, you know, I kind of had, I had a lot of blame. I have like, I don't know. It sounds like I just am down on myself all the time. I really was when I was younger, like how could I let this happen to my parents? Like, and I felt really guilty for that too. But it's just these things in my childhood, they really shaped me into the person that I am today. And eventually it led to me leaving the church, which we'll get to, but
we'll get there.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just a lot of things happened. But generally in my childhood, I really did love going to church. I loved learning about God. And I felt like I did have a good relationship with Christ and that he loved me and he was there for me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so then, so that's been sort of like your experience in your childhood and so like your youth years, some amazing experiences at church, you know, spiritual experiences, going to camps and conferences, feeling like you had that personal relationship with God and with Jesus, but you felt guilt that you were never, you know, hitting the mark, so to speak, that you were constantly falling short. And then with your dad leaving as well, did you feel like, did it impact your faith? It sounds like it maybe strengthened you in some ways, maybe going more towards the church.
Yeah, it strengthened it, definitely. I kind of felt like I needed to be more of an example to my dad, and just like show him, oh, this is great, this is wonderful, this is true.
Did he ever try to show either your mom or talk to, you know, your siblings about his reasons why he stopped believing? Did he ever try to share any of that, or do you just want you to make your own decision?
No, yeah. My relationship with my dad is kind of weird. We didn't really talk that much. And when I looked at my friends' families, like my family dynamics were very different from theirs. But so I didn't really talk to him that much, and that's not something that would come up. And it still hasn't even come up really with him today, even though we're both out of the church. It's just not something that we talk about.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So then I believe the church announces that young women can serve missions at age 19. I can't remember if it was definitely before our mission. Was it 2013, 2014?
It was 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did that have an impact on you?
Oh yeah. Like I remember sitting downstairs. I don't know why I was alone, but I was watching conference alone. The announcement came on and I just started bawling. I was like, it felt like I was just like hit with something, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I could serve a mission. What? That's crazy.
Was a mission ever part of your plan or not really?
No, absolutely not. Like I was the kid in primary that I would never even sing I hope they call me on a mission, because I did not want to go on a mission. Like anti-mission for me. So I'm surprised I even went on a mission. But my older brother, he had just graduated. No, it was in 2012. Sorry. It was 2012 because I graduated in 2014. My brother had just graduated and I was like, oh my gosh, he can go a year earlier. And that made me so sad because we're really tight. Like me and my older brother, me and my younger brother, we were always really tight. We were close in age. So I was sad that I was gonna lose him sooner to go on a mission. But no, it was a really impactful thing for me. So I don't know, but it didn't really affect me then. Like I realized, oh yeah, that's a possibility. Like lots of people are going to be going on missions, but I probably won't, I could, but I won't. I just went to college and I was going to just continue on my way to my degree. But
where did you study and what did you study?
Yeah, so I went to Utah State University, and I got my degree in family and consumer sciences education. So that's basically just teaching like cooking, sewing, financial, family finance, interior design, all of those fun classes that you take in school. I got my degree in that and teaching that. So I loved it. It was so fun. I loved college.
So you did,
yeah.
so you did 1 year before your mission, and then you went back and continued with it. So
Yeah.
during that year when you were at college, when did you make the decision to go on a mission? And maybe talk about anything up until you getting your call. What was like getting your mission call? How did your dad react to your mission call and your family? And yeah, talk about that next.
Yeah. So when I went to Utah State, I lived in the dorms and I was with 5 other girls, and all of them weren't super active. And I had like a lot of undiagnosed anxiety. And so I was like really nervous to even go to church by myself. So if my roommates weren't going, I wasn't going. And then I had a loser boyfriend that I went to church with sometimes. And so, I mean, I went to church and I went home a lot. So I was still very active, but I was just like, I'm just here getting my degree. I'm not going to do anything. And then one day I was just kind of in a rut. I was like, do I even want to go into family and consumer sciences? Like, do I want to be a teacher? Like, what do I want to do? And I was like, oh my gosh, I can serve a mission. I was like, I'm going to serve a mission. Let's do it. And so I texted my bishop, who I had met like twice. I was like, hey, Bishop, I want to serve a mission. Can we meet? It was so funny because like when I went in to meet with him, he was like, so I'm sorry, who are you?
So were you attending like a YSA ward because you're at the university?
It was a student ward. Yeah, but like I said, I didn't really go to my ward unless one of my roommates was going. But yeah, I mostly just went home and to other people's wards. I went to church on Sunday, just not at my own ward. So my bishop didn't know who I was. But he, after talking to me and like realizing, oh, she does have a testimony, he allowed me to fill out my mission papers. And I mean, that was pretty quick. Just fill everything out, go to the doctor, set up, wait. So yeah, and I'm not sure. I think I got my call in April, and I put my availability date for June 10th. So the day that we went into the MTC.
I think I was the same because I remember I got my call on April Fool's Day, the 1st of April. And yeah, I think I got to the MTC on the 9th of June. I think it was the day before. But I remember thinking that was quite quick. There wasn't much time to prepare between the call and leaving. So what was your reaction when you opened your mission call paper, your letter, and you found out you're going to Canada?
I was so excited. It's so funny because a family friend that we were close with, their daughter served in the Canada Calgary mission. And so she was like, oh my gosh, like this is what you're going to see. This is who you're going to meet. These are your mission president and wife. And like, they're so amazing. So it was really cool because I had that connection. But I was stoked to go to Canada, even though it was really cold. Guys, because anybody who asked me like, where do you want to go? I'm like, anywhere, but I'm fine with going anywhere, but I don't want to go anywhere cold. Like, no, I hate the cold. And of course I get called to Canada.
It's
But
cold in Utah though, isn't it? Like you would get cold winters, would you not?
it's not as cold. Like
Yeah,
Canada's like way cold.
yeah.
Logan's colder. I remember the week that I left the mission, it was -40 in Canada and it was like -20 in Logan.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
I mean, it was Logan is Utah State where I went to school, but anyway, but I was really excited. So, um,
And how was
and
your family's reaction? And did your dad have any reaction?
no, he was just supportive. He really just, I mean, he just wanted me to be happy, which is really
That's awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the rest of my family, they were really happy for me. Um, yeah, it was good.
Did your older brother, did he serve a mission?
He did. He went to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So yeah.
So was he out in his mission when you got your call?
No, he had just come back in I don't remember, like a couple months
Okay.
before I got my call. So he was like fresh off. He was like, yeah, missions are the best. So so he
Okay.
was very, very supportive of me. Yeah.
Awesome. Is there
Yeah.
anything you want to share before we talk about your mission? Anything up until going to the MTC that's relevant to your story, or should we just go to the MTC?
Um, yeah, let's just go into the MTC.
Okay, so MTC, that's where we first met, at the MTC. I don't know what your experience was at the MTC district. Personally, I absolutely loved our MTC district. I thought all the missionaries were just amazing. We were all
Yeah.
just like, we had the greeny fire. We were just like,
Yeah.
we're gonna, spread the truth. We're the armies of Helaman. I think we
Mhm.
were all just super pumped. And for me, the MTC was a really spiritual atmosphere and experience. Some people have really bad experiences at MTC. They felt like it was like a prison and you were there all day and you couldn't leave. I was like, I loved it. What was your
Yeah.
experience at the MTC?
I loved the MTC. It was hard because I felt like we were just go, 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 go all the time. And I got sick and I was sick for like a month into my mission.
Oh wow.
um, yeah, but nobody could know because I was like, I just want to be in class. We got to be in class. But
Who was your MTC companion? Was it
it
Sister
was
Paige?
it was Sister Paige.
I love
Yeah,
Sister Paige. Okay,
she's so
awesome.
great. Yeah, so it was really fun, and it's so funny because I was reading my mission journal last night, and I was like, I was describing who was in our district, and I was like, I don't know the elders' names, but I know there's Elder Murphy, and he's from Ireland. I was like, that's so cool. But no, I think just having those friendships that we built at the beginning in the MTC, like that really helped me throughout my whole mission. Like I
Yeah.
loved everyone in the MTC. So good.
No, there was such good unity, and it was so cool that all of us were going to the
Yeah.
same mission, because I think there was 12 of us in the district and we all went to the mission, but we were only there for, it was 12 days. So it went, for me, I thought the MTC went kind of quick,
Mm-hmm.
the period, but yeah, it was all go. It was full on. So
Mm-hmm.
MTC was a great experience for you. How are you feeling spiritually? How are you feeling about being a missionary, learning the missionary lessons? How all was that for you?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I was just like kind of blown away at how simple everything was put. Like the missionary lessons are so like they're so simple to understand. And I was like, well, duh, of course the church is true. And in the MTC, I kind of had like a moment where I didn't even know if I should be there. Like I didn't feel like um like that was God's plan for me to go on a mission, I guess.
Did
And
you did
so
you feel like it was your personal decision to go, rather than feeling like sort of like a prompting, or it was God
exactly.
telling you? You felt like it was your decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I felt it was my decision and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to like be home working on my degree and finding a husband, all of that. So, that was really hard for me, but eventually I just kind of got over that and I was like, no, this is what I want to do right now because I was so in love with the gospel. Like I just felt like everybody needed to hear it. And you know, it was so true to me. And like, I wanted to share the joy that I had found in my childhood and growing up with other people. And so I kind of just stuck it out and went on a mission.
Okay, so you got to Canada.
Mhm.
First of all, tell me about the areas you served in. I think
Yeah.
was your trainer, was it Sister Tilly? Sister Tilly, is that her name?
Really, yeah.
Okay, and did you tell me the areas you served, and then tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about your experience. I know you served as you trained, I think,
Mhm.
and you know you served as a sister trainer leader. Is that what they're called? I can't remember.
Yeah.
STL, that's what they
Oh
were.
yeah, I'm sister training leader.
So
Yeah.
yeah, talk about the areas you served in. Talk about maybe anything with your companions, and what were sort of like the best or the highs of your mission experience. And was there any sort of tough moments, low moments? You know, did you experience any doubts? Did anything affect your faith? Did you experience any homesickness or anxiety, depression? So just talk about your mission.
Yeah. Well, I started out in Raymond,
Was that in
in,
Cardston zone?
in the Cardston zone.
Okay.
So it's just a small little area. And Sister Tilly trained me. I was so lucky. She was like the best missionary ever. I love her. So she trained me, and then I immediately turned around and I trained Sister Lowe in Raymond. And that was tough. I mean, being a new missionary myself and then training another missionary to be
So
a missionary.
after 3 months, you trained a brand new missionary. Same thing
Yeah.
happened to me actually. Yeah.
It's tough. I'm sure you can relate. Like, it was
Yeah.
tough, but it was fun. And Raymond is like a mini Utah. Like, there's so many members. I don't know. Did you serve in Cardston? Were
No,
you there?
I
No.
served in Lethbridge, but I
Oh,
never
okay.
served in Cardston. There's quite a few members in Lethbridge, but no Cardston. I heard it was mostly Mormon, which makes
Yeah.
the missionary work tougher because it's a lot
Yeah.
of either inactives or member
Mhm.
work.
Yeah. You know, it was really hard, but we were so busy. Like, we had so many lessons, and like, we just were go 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 all the time. And the members there were really amazing. Like, and it was nice because I felt like I was just going home. So it was very, I don't know, it was really nice. So I was there for 6 months, and then I went to the Prairie Winds and Highland Park YSA ward, um, which was in the east in Calgary.
Oh, okay.
And that was a culture shock. That was nuts. Because it was so different. I mean, there were like our church building was right next to the Sikh temple. So it was just like, it was crazy. The East is crazy, but I loved it. It was so
That, that
cool.
that was my first area. I served in
Really.
Sunridge in the east of Calgary. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
very
so,
different.
it's very different, but it's so fun. And I mean, the culture is just so cool. Um, but I was there with Sister Milius and then Sister Rasmussen. I trained Sister Rasmussen there.
Oh, is it? I think I know Sister Rasmussen, blonde hair. Yeah,
Mhm.
she was in one of my areas. I think I was in High River. What zone was that? I can't even remember the zone. But yeah, she's awesome, Sister Rasmussen.
Yeah, I love her. She's so awesome. Um, and I think we must have just missed each other because my next area was the Pritis Valley YSA ward, which included High River and like Okotoks.
Oh,
You
okay.
said you were in High River?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you remember roughly? That would have been the end of your mission?
No, it was in the middle.
In the middle. Okay.
Well, it was right before my second or my last 3 transfers.
Okay.
So I don't know when it was, but it was like a year into it.
Okay, because I think I served in High River about 15 months into my mission, 16 months. I
Mhm.
served with Elder Cox in High River.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I was with Elder Cox, and then you came in when I
Yeah.
left. So
Oh,
yeah.
he was honestly one of my favorite companions. Like I loved him at the MTC. Such a great guy, great
Yeah.
missionary as well. We had such good unity. But I remember one time we got sick on the mission for like a week. We both had really bad flu, and like members were giving us food and were giving us like these missionary movies, you know, like the RM, Best 2 Years, Baptist Our Barbecue, and it was just like heaven. It was just like
Yeah.
so much fun. But he was a
Yeah.
great guy. Love Elder
Yeah.
Cox.
He's so great. Yeah. I loved that area especially too, because I was with Sister Ovard and Sister Halliday.
Oh, a trio. Okay.
No. I was with Sister Ovard first, and then I was with Sister Halliday, but we lived with the Spanish sisters. And there were 3 of them.
That
So
helps, doesn't it? It helps living with other missionaries.
oh,
It's good
I
fun.
loved it. It was so great. And they brought home Spanish food sometimes. I was like, this is so great. But no, they were really awesome. And that's where I became a sister training leader, was in the Curtis Valley YSA. And I loved serving in the YSA because it was like, these are my people, like we can connect.
Your peers. Yeah.
Yeah, my peers. I met some really awesome people there. Like, I don't know, it was just so fun. And then my last area was Central Calgary. So downtown.
I never
Which
served in that area.
oh,
Okay.
it was so cool. Like the Calgary Tower was in our area. It
Oh,
was so
cool.
cool. So we met some really interesting people.
I bet.
Um,
A lot of street
so
contacting in that
yeah,
area.
yeah. Yep. A bit of crime there, but not anything compared to like other missions that has
Yeah.
crime.
Yeah, that's true. I think there was a gunshot, and I think somebody might have died outside my apartment in my first area, but that was kind of like as crazy as it got
Yeah,
in the east
yeah.
of Calgary. So talk about your different areas. Did you have many converts or many baptisms on your mission? Maybe talk about, did you have any like super like cool that you felt were like powerful spiritual experiences? And then did you encounter any sort of things that maybe shook your faith a little bit? Did you have any people bash on you about the church? And then also talk a little bit about President Sister Miles as well and your relationship with them.
Yeah, I love them. No, I felt like I was like a decently successful missionary. I think there were like 10 people that got baptized that I was teaching, which I don't know if that's normal.
I think I
But
got 6. No, that's good. Yeah.
yeah, well, that's good.
Not that it's about numbers.
Yeah, I know. It's not about numbers, but it is. But but it's not. Anyway, so I thought it was good, but I was also like still worried, like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting like as many lessons as I did last week. Like I was really I compared myself to myself a lot. So that was kind of hard, like getting down on myself about that. But you know, I had really amazing experiences, and like, man, I remember one time I was street contacting and we ran into this guy and we taught him about the plan of salvation because he was like, man, I don't think I want to be alive. And we street contacted him and taught him the plan of salvation. And he was like, okay, I think I want to live.
Whoa.
And yeah, and like he texted us later, he was like, just so you sisters know, like I was gonna commit suicide that night and you guys saved me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like just one person that I could give a message to that could help them is amazing. But so that was really impactful for me. And
you probably interpreted that a little bit like God used you to intervene in his life.
right, yeah, that's totally what I thought. And you know, I still believe like you can be put in a certain situation that helps people, like fate, I guess.
Mhm.
I still believe that, and nothing ever came from that. Like he didn't take lessons, but I mean, who cares? You know, like who cares if I was able to just say, God loves you. You don't have to kill yourself tonight, you know? Like, I don't know. That was really cool for me. But I think the thing that really was the best part of my mission was just meeting so many amazing people. I remember in another area, we kept teaching this less active who was a chain smoker. And so we always had to go to her house very last the last lesson of the night, because we would come home smelling like we smoked a whole pack of cigarettes. But she was so sweet. Her name was Myrna, and we just talked to her, and I felt so much love and compassion for her, because I felt like she was kind of like similar to some of my family that I grew up with, like my great aunt, she was a smoker for a lot of years, but Myrna, she just got to me. And I remember we tried to contact her, and she wasn't answering, and I got really worried, and we found out that she was in the hospital. And so I was able to go say goodbye to her, because she passed away a couple weeks after that. But it's moments like that, just meeting people that really just like impacted my life, and I was hopefully able to impact their life. And I have stories upon stories about that, just people that I met. So that really was just my favorite part of the mission.
Yeah.
Was meeting so many amazing people. And I'm sure you feel the same, just meeting so many.
And so many people that you never would have thought that you'd have built a connection or a relationship with them in another context or in another, like, and I think for me, there are times I felt like I was sent here to connect with some of these people, and yeah, just the relationships you build are just incredible, and some of them are lifelong.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, that's the same with, the members, the missionaries, like all the people that I taught, companions, like it's just, there's so many amazing people out there. And yeah, you wouldn't meet them in any other context, but we were able to meet them there, and it's just so incredible. So I loved my mission for that. The mission was really hard in other ways for me. But I really appreciated that I was able to meet so many amazing people.
Yeah.
So,
and how was your relationship with President and Sister Miles?
loved them.
Yeah.
They're so amazing. I don't know. I couldn't think of one person on the mission that didn't love them.
No.
I don't know. But they were just so amazing. And I wish I had more contact with them now, but it's hard, but I don't know. They're so special. They're great people.
Yeah, they really felt like our mission mom and dad, and even when I think of like the Peppingers and I'm forgetting some of the names, but I just loved so many of them, and they really came out. They were very genuine, they were very sincere, and the one thing I really loved about President Miles is, yes, there's a bit of focus on numbers on the mission, and we can talk a little bit about that, but he seemed like he really did focus on Christ and the Savior, and I thought that was one thing that was really good about our mission, because I think not all missions are as Christ-centered as ours was. I thought that was an amazing thing.
Yeah, and I remember they gave us that booklet of like things about Christ.
I think it's about like the atonement of Jesus Christ. Talks and scriptures and things. Yeah,
that was really cool too, and that just kind of goes to show what kind of mission it was. Because it was all about Christ and our relationship with Christ and the atonement, and then giving that to other people.
Yeah,
so it was really
no. So shout out to President and Sister Miles. They were awesome. We love you too. Anything negative about your mission? How did you feel about maybe the mission rules? Did you have any struggles? Anything? I know some missionaries struggle with homesickness, anxiety. Did anything that maybe affect your faith in any way? Maybe just talk about that.
Yeah, the homesickness was a big deal for me at the beginning, and then I kind of just got over it until my brother went through some tough personal stuff in his life, and I just felt like I needed to be there, and I was just heartbroken that I couldn't go through that with him. Well, both of my brothers went through something hard while I was out on my mission, so I felt sad that I wasn't there for them, but I just kind of held the idea in my mind that the mission was where I needed to be, and so that was hard. But I just kind of just lived with it, you know. As far as like obedience, I felt like I was a pretty obedient missionary. Like I got up on time. Not to say that that wasn't hard, but it was, because it was like I was tired all the time.
Yeah.
And it was tough because I get lots of migraines, and I didn't feel like I could lay down and have a nap because I felt guilty. I'm like, I just need to work. So I dealt with that a lot. But so I felt like I was pretty obedient. Um, I think just, and with my anxiety, because like I mentioned before in college, like I had a lot of undiagnosed anxiety. I felt like the mission really helped me get over that, which
Wow.
is really awesome.
It
Yeah.
is.
Because it helped me like go out and talk to people and get to know them. So that was awesome. But in the same breath, I felt like it kind of hurt my depression, because I was pushing myself so much and I was so tired and I couldn't think about me. And when I did think about me, I was guilty. And like I remember one week I got zeros on all of the numbers. Like I had no lessons, I had no contacts, nothing. I was like, I am the worst missionary in the world. Like, and I just felt so guilty. And I held on to that for so long. I was like, I am awful. Like, I'm such a disappointment. But yeah, it just kind of ties back to that guilt that I felt all throughout my life. Like, man, like I can be so much better, but I'm not. So that was really hard. Yeah, I loved my mission, but I would never do it again.
I say that as well. I remember like in my
Yeah.
final interview with President Miles, I was like, I loved my mission. Like, I wish I could stay. Like, I don't want to go home. And if he had been like, well, Elder, you could extend for another year, I'd have been like, no, I take that back. I'm leaving.
No, I had like a mid-mission, midlife, mid-mission crisis where I was like, I need to be a missionary forever. And then then like a couple months later, I was like, I could never do that. I would never extend like ever. It's
It's
just
full on.
tough.
Like, it's, it's 24/7. You're up at 6:30. You do a couple hours of study, and then
Mhm,
you're pretty much working from, I think it was 10 a.m. until about 9 p.m., 9:30. You can
mhm,
take a lunch break, you can take a dinner break, but like you say, if you took a break, you would feel that guilt.
mhm,
They're considered piles on our mission, but you felt like you always needed to be working and serving and sharing the gospel, and that you were on the Lord's time,
mhm.
and that you didn't want to waste the Lord's time. But
Yeah.
like you said, for some that might have caused maybe a little bit of guilt if they weren't doing things perfectly. It sounded like you were a very obedient missionary. I try to be quite obedient as
Mhm,
well, but I think there could be that internal guilt, especially if they weren't getting the success, could have
mhm.
caused discouragement. Did you encounter any people who were sort of attacking the church, any bashers, anything like that?
Um, a couple times on the street, or one time we knocked on this guy's door and he was like, I'm an ex-Mormon and this is why you shouldn't be Mormon. And I was like, okay, whatever. Brushed it off. I was like, this guy is crazy. Um, so because I mean he was spouting off things that I had never heard before. Um, but I don't know. I didn't really come in contact with very much anti
No,
people.
neither did I. I remember one guy in my first area came, some strange random guy talked about like the seer stone with me, and Joseph Smith had a seer stone that the church released. And because we were on social media on
Mhm.
our mission, I think we were for the first transfer, but got taken away. I'd never heard of the seer stone. I had no idea what he was on about. I was like, this guy's just crazy. So
Yeah.
I didn't learn about that until after I got home. But
Yeah.
no, I encountered some people that Bible bashed with me, but I didn't encounter any sort of critical or anti, material. Okay,
Yeah.
so you get to the end of your mission, 18 months. Anything else about your mission you want to talk about, or have we talked about what it was like adjusting back to normal life?
Yeah, I was just ready to be home, I think. Just ready to continue on with my life. So, like I said, I loved my mission, but I just knew I couldn't ever do it again. But yeah,
It
it was
was
good to be home.
weird. It was weird for me seeing the sisters that I came out with go home 6 months before us and being like, wow, we've got another 6 months to do. Like, it's quick, but that's a long period of time as well.
Yeah, I know, that's like a whole area.
Yeah.
Each of my areas were 6 months, basically. Well, kind of, but yeah, it's crazy.
My
So
theory why sisters only serve 18 months is they're probably more hardworking than elders, and they can get as much missionary work done in 18 months, but it takes the elders
right.
24. That's my theory.
I did hear that, but I don't know.
Who knows? Right. So you got home from your mission. What happened next?
Yeah, so a week later I was off to college again. I went straight back to Utah State, and
Was it around Christmas time or January you got home?
I got home on December 28th, so 3 days after
Oh,
Christmas. Yeah.
that
So,
sucks.
I mean, it was fine because I got home like, I don't know, in the evening, and we just did Christmas in the evening. So it's like I got 2 Christmases, which was fun.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Because I still called my family and all that on Christmas. I didn't FaceTime or Zoom or anything, but I just called them. I was like, hey, see you in a couple days. But I got home and we celebrated Christmas, and it was a whirlwind. Like that whole week, I was like, man, like this is crazy. And like it felt weird not doing anything, like
Yeah.
not having something to do. So that was weird. So I was really excited to go back to college. So
Get a routine again. Was it
yeah.
weird like watching like your first movie again, listening to normal music, not having a companion? Did you
Yeah.
did you feel like it took you a bit to adjust, or did you get back to normal kind of quickly?
I think going back to school so quickly, it was easier to adjust. But I don't know. I don't even remember what movie I watched. I don't even remember. I don't think I listened to music that much. My older brother was like, "Hey, you need to get back to real life," and he like blasted all of these songs, and he was like, "Hey, listen to this, watch this." I was like, "Okay." I remember the first Sunday back, it was the Super Bowl or some football. I don't know. It probably wasn't the Super Bowl. But anyway, I like hid behind the couch. I would not watch it, which is so lame. But yeah, eventually I was just like, okay, this is done. Let me just be normal again. So
Yeah, some missionaries struggle with that.
mhm,
Yeah, it took me a couple of days before I could watch a movie as well. But then I felt like I adjusted back quite well. Okay, so you go to school.
mhm,
So what happens next? I'm guessing so your mission overall sounds like a really good faith promoting, amazing experience, met loads of awesome people. Seemed like
mhm,
you probably came back with the RM fire, but you were
mhm,
tired at the same time. You're glad to be back. So you go to
mhm.
school, you're continuing to go to church. Did you have any callings during this period? And then talk about like experiences with dating and meeting your husband.
Mhm.
So just talk about the next chapter of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to school. I met my husband a week after I got into my apartment. I didn't know that he was going to be my husband, obviously, but I mean, we were just kind of friends, and then I got a crush on him, and then we started dating. And well, I would say the rest is history, but we actually broke up. and then we got back together, and then we got married.
If I remember reading on your story, I think you said something, you broke up, he started dating or talking to another girl, and then you're like, I'm not having that.
I got so jealous. I was like, he is mine and he will always be mine. So, I mean, we were broken up for a couple months, and then I was like, nope, let's get back together. And he was like, no, we should probably still date around. I was like, no, you're mine. And he's like, okay, that's fine. But
Had
no,
had he served a mission?
he actually served in the Edmonton mission.
Oh, just
So,
north of ours. Okay.
mhm. And he got home like a month after we went out. So in 2016, I guess.
So you've been home about
Oh,
a year and a half.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was on my mission. He had already been at school for a year and a half, and then we met. So, but it's kind of interesting because when I met my husband, like we got along really well, and I was just not sure if he was the one. He was the one I wanted to marry, or the one that God intended me to marry. And that was a big thing. Like I really wanted to do what God wanted me to do. And so I ended up breaking up with him because I was so confused. I was praying so much and I was just so confused. I was like, why am I not getting an answer? And when we were broken up, like those were some of the hardest months of my life, even harder than the mission. Like it was just so hard because I felt like God wasn't really talking to me. Like he just kind of left me and was like, you figure it out. And I was like, no, this is a really important decision. This is like the rest of my life. This is my husband. Like, why are you not answering my prayers about him?
And in the
And
church, it's not even just the rest of your life, but that marriage is for eternity, which,
yeah.
and we've had the lessons, we've had the talks, that's the most important decision we're going to make, who we're going to marry. And we're told to seek, you make the choice, but you need to receive a spiritual confirmation. It sounds like you're saying you feel like you weren't getting any answer. That caused you confusion, and maybe to think, well, if I'm not getting an answer, maybe that means he's not the right one. So that's probably why you broke up.
Yeah. And so I broke up with him and it was so hard. And he even was like, why are you doing this? Like, why are we breaking up? And I was like, I don't know. I think it's just what God wants me to do. And
Had you been dating long when you first broke up?
we were dating, like we were planning on getting married. Like we were dating 6 or 7 months.
Okay.
And
That's
we
actually
were
a while for Mormons.
yeah. No, we were dating quite a while and then we broke up. And it was so hard. And I was like I said, I just felt like God left me. And why wouldn't he answer my prayers? And so that made me begin to like have, I guess it was essentially the first part of my faith crisis. Because I was like, why is God gone in such an important part of my life? And I became really depressed. And then I went back because we broke up in the summer. And then I went back to school and then I was like, okay, I'm going to make the decision for me to start dating him again and hopefully marry him because he's honestly my best friend. He's like one of the greatest people I've ever met, and how would I would just feel so awful giving up on that and giving up on him.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I did that for me. And I felt like I was kind of rebelling against God because I didn't get permission to
So you're kind of like taking ownership and you're making it. If you feel like you're not getting an answer, well, I'm just going to make the decision because he's a great guy. I love him. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got married and it was,
what date was this?
we got married in May of 2018.
Okay.
So yeah. So we've been married almost 5 years in May. It'll be 5 years. Yeah.
So I'm guessing did you get married, sealed in the temple?
Yeah, we got married in the Salt Lake Temple.
Wow.
So that was really cool. That was like my dream temple to get married in, and it was great.
That's awesome.
That was fun. Yeah. So it was really good. But so we got married and then we moved into a married student ward, and that was cool. And I got the call to be the primary president, which was really not even that cool because it was more of a glorified nursery leader because we only had nursery age kids.
Because I imagine most young or most married students are probably in their 20s. So
yeah, the oldest kid we had was 3 years old. And so they could have gone to primary, but they didn't. They just stayed in the ward. So we didn't even have primary classes or primary teachers. We just had nursery leaders.
I guess that's quite good mothering preparation in a way, wasn't it? Having like loads of little 2-year-olds running around.
Yeah. And they were like, make sure you have a lesson about Jesus. And I was like, there's no way they're going to sit down and be like, yes, Jesus loves me. No, they're going to be playing with the toy. And so I would just every week I would just be like, Jesus loves you, and show him a picture of Jesus and then call that blessed. So I don't know. I was pretty relaxed as a primary president. But yeah, I didn't feel like it was a special calling in any way. I just was just calling that I was given, and yeah, that was that. But so yeah, I had that calling, and then I got released, and I finished my classes. We had our first baby, Adeline, while I was still taking classes. It was so dumb because I was taking 18 credits, which is, I don't know how it works over there in Europe, but 18 credits is a full semester. Like, that's a lot. And I was doing that when I had a baby, and then I had to like take finals and all of that. I'm like, what am I doing? But I love our daughter is amazing. Like, I wouldn't trade her for anything. But
this might be a personal question, but like, did you feel sort of pressure to have children quite quick after marriage? Or was that something that you and your husband both wanted? Or did you feel like that's sort of like what's expected in the church?
yeah, I mean, it's kind of sort of both. I felt like the culture of the church, it was like, okay, you get married and you have kids. And we had waited. I mean, I got pregnant after about a year of us being married, and some people just immediately go get pregnant and have their babies. And so I felt like we were kind of waiting a little bit, but I did feel a little bit of pressure. But also, we both really wanted kids, so yeah,
That's
I
good.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
couple decision. Okay.
Mhm.
That's so you have your first child in 2019, is that right? Or 2018, 2019?
2019. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we had our first baby, and then we moved, and I did my student teaching, which was hard having a newborn, but I did it and I survived. And then COVID hit. So
Yeah.
I didn't student teach anymore, and I was just home with my baby, which was awesome.
That's awesome. So how was your experience of COVID and no more church? Did they do an online church, or was there just no church happening? Talk about that time period.
Yeah, so we had just moved into a new ward, and like we gave our intro talks, and then we didn't even go to church that much because we had a newborn baby. And so there was church going on, and then COVID hit and they switched it to Zoom, which was fine, but I don't think we even watched it once. So I don't know, I can't remember. Maybe once or twice, but we were just kind of like, yay, we can focus on ourselves. Like, we basically gave our whole lives to the church, and now we can just focus on just figuring it out for ourselves. And
Almost like a bit of a break.
yeah,
In a way.
yeah. We both still had our testimonies, but it was just like, let's chill out for a second. And I think a lot of people felt that way during COVID. Like, wow, this is our chance to have that break and be home with our family and not attend to all of our callings and be away from our family attending to those callings. So I think a lot of people felt that way. But I don't know, I can't speak for anybody but myself. But during that time, I just kind of took time to myself to kind of reevaluate what I believed. And it's kind of funny because both my husband and we went through our faith crises. I guess I don't like calling it a faith crisis because I don't think it is, but faith journey.
Yeah, I like rephrasing it like that.
Yeah, separately, but along, like, right next to each other.
So you
Right.
both didn't know that you're going through it?
Well, I mean, we checked in with each other along the way. Like, I don't even remember what our first conversation was like, but we were just both kind of like, I don't know if I believe this certain thing. And then the other person is like, well, I don't believe in this certain thing about the church. And we were just kind of talking back and forth. And eventually, like, we were like, we don't want this for our family. like we don't feel like the church culture and some of its doctrine, we don't want to teach that to our kids. And I mean, a big thing for me was the LGBTQ stance that the church has, and patriarchy in the church. With having a daughter, and now we have 2 daughters, it's like I don't want them to feel less than a man because they don't have the priesthood, and they can't have those callings, and they can't ever be the president of the church, you know. And I know that the church says, or I don't know, members of the church say women are just as important than men.
Yeah, just as equal.
I don't believe it. I don't. I think, yes, there are certain roles, but the priesthood is a huge thing that the church claims that they have. And that is a big differentiation between men and women in the church. And so that was a big thing for us. And eventually we were just like, we don't want to teach our kids that. And so we decided to step away from the church, not necessarily leave the church, just step away, evaluate what we actually believe, what we want to believe, and what we want to teach our kids. And that was really hard. Like, it's not an easy thing. And I'm sure you understand exactly what I'm talking about, because it's hard. So.
And out of curiosity, I don't want to make this about me, but in 2019, I put out my public post, and it was quite long, but what did you think of that post? Because at this stage, you're probably still strong in your faith.
Yeah.
Did that have any impact on you at all?
Yes. It's so funny because when you posted that, I was like, what? Like, he's a strong member. Like, he's leaving the church. And I was like, I just want him to know that doesn't change my opinion of him. So I commented on your post. And then when I was going through my faith journey during COVID, I thought back on that post of you leaving. You had some really, really good points. And I kind of read back on that, and I don't know if you had deleted it. I don't know, because I tried to find it and I couldn't find it.
I don't think I did. No.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was just struggling with.
I know sometimes on the Facebook timeline it can be hard to find posts, but no, I don't think I did.
Yeah, but no, I actually thought about that post a lot, and I had heard of a couple other people leaving the church that were strong, faithful members that I looked up to, and I was like, wow, if they're leaving, like, why am I still here? Like, what's the point? Not, I don't know, like, what made them leave? And maybe I should look at those things.
Yeah, because you may be questioning, re-examine your faith a little bit more deeply.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we did that. So, yeah.
Okay, so you hinted to, issues with patriarchy, feeling there's a bit of an inequality, that men hold the priesthood, and, men tend to hold the highest positions in the church, the prophets a man, the apostles 70s, and even in local congregations, the bishop and his counselors, women can't hold those positions. Although, remember, the church might say, oh, well, women can be, leaders of the Relief Society, and I've also heard some members say, well, men are given the priesthood because they're less righteous than women. Women don't need the priesthood to go to the temple or the celestial kingdom. But men, we need it to get to their level. You probably have heard some of those explanations.
Yeah, and those explanations, I kind of just roll my eyes. Sure, whatever, believe what you want to believe. But I think it comes down to that men really do just have the priesthood. Like, it's a special thing. Like, if you're a believing member of the church, the priesthood is the best thing that you can have, because you can literally, like, speak from God, be God's mouthpiece. And I guess with the spirit, women can, but not, like, women can't give blessings. Women can't say those special prayers. women can't have those special callings. And it's all because of the priesthood. And women really just have less authority than an 11-year-old that has a priesthood, because the priesthood is that important. Yeah.
And there's also the element of a priesthood holder presides, and they wouldn't see it as, they rule sort of, but they are the one sort of in charge, that they preside. And I remember my sister once saying to me, she went through a phase where she had a real problem with this, and I was just being like, well, that's just the way it is, and just hold the priesthood. That's how God established it, that's just how it is. Just deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember her saying, well, how would you feel if it was the opposite way around, that it was the women who were in charge, they held all the big callings, and they were the ones who could do blessings and do baptisms, and use, the men couldn't. I kind of thought about that. I was like, I don't know how I would feel. Like, I don't know how I would feel about that, but I was like, right. I was like, I understand that it can seem a bit unequal, but then I would have said, well, it's not that we're unequal, it's just different roles.
Right.
That would have been probably how most owners would say, well, women can give birth to a child, men can't, but it's not that you're any better, it's just different rules. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the issues. You said LGBTQ. What was it with regards to that bothered you?
Yeah, I think people should be able to love who they love and be who they want to be, and the church doesn't really believe that. I mean, they say maybe they do, but actions speak louder than words. You can't let a gay couple get sealed in the temple. And so I just kind of have a problem with that. I just think whatever makes someone happy, let them be happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it's about for me. So yeah.
Had you heard about the church's 2015 policy on children of gay parents? Were you aware of that? That the children of gay parents couldn't be baptized, but then 4 years later it was reversed. Were you aware of that? And did that have any contribution at all to anything?
Yeah, when it was announced in 2015, I was like, well, yeah, of course. Like, that makes sense. And I know that people were really upset about that, but I was like, well, it makes sense to me, because you would want them to understand, like, I don't know, it made sense. But then I didn't know that they had redacted it until I started looking into things about the church, and that kind of made me upset. Like, if you're a church that claims that you speak for God, then, and you have these special priesthood powers that make you see into the future and know, then you should have seen this coming. You shouldn't have even put out the ban of 8-year-olds. I don't know, it made me pretty upset. So
yeah, because it caused a lot of people to think, well, did God change his mind, or was it uninspired then? Why would God tell the prophets and the apostles, give them this policy to ban the children of gay parents? And that led to a lot of people leaving the church, but I think also a lot of suicides, and 4 years later they reversed it, claiming that it was also a revelation. But that caused, I know I was actually, I think, out of the church at the time, and I was like, oh, that just further proves they're getting things wrong. But yeah, bothered a lot of people. Okay, so you're struggling with those issues. This is during the first lockdown. Did you encounter anything with church history? Did you listen to any podcasts or read any materials, or is it just these thoughts going on in your head?
So initially, when we decided to take a step back, history wasn't even an issue. I was like, people are people, men are dumb. Joseph Smith was a man, he was dumb. So no offense. But history wasn't even an issue for me. So, but then when I allowed myself permission to start looking into history, start looking into like reading the CES letter, like a lot of people have, I was very defensive of the church's side. Like I read the CES letter and I was like, okay, but that could be taken out of context. That doesn't really seem right. So I was really defensive of the church's side of things. But and then like I looked at the ex-Mormon Reddit page. That was really helpful to me. But also again, I was just kind of like, okay, you can believe what you want to believe. And it wasn't really until I started listening to like Mormon Stories podcasts and all of that that I was like, oh my gosh, like there are people that lead the church and they do have some really honest issues with church history. And then I started looking more into it and I realized another issue that I had with the church was that they're not very honest with the past, with what happened, like how many wives Joseph Smith had, you know, the kind of person that Brigham Young was, polygamy. Polygamy is a big issue, but like a lot of different things in the history of the church kind of started to bother me. And I feel like I have looked at everything from a unbiased stance. So I wasn't like I wasn't on either side. I just kind of looked at it objectively and I was like, okay, is that right or wrong to me personally? Like, okay, well, that sounds kind of wrong to me personally, you know? But yeah, I mean, church history, it was a big issue. It wasn't a big issue and now it's kind of a bigger issue to me.
And did you feel like you didn't really know much about church history, some of the issues, you know, maybe things like multiple First Vision accounts, you know, polygamy, that Joseph Smith, you know, had a seer stone, was involved in treasure digging, you know, blacks in the priesthood, Adam God there, those sorts of issues. Were you aware of any of those up until this point?
I was aware of them, but I kind of had this stance of, well, men are men, people make mistakes, and God has a plan. And then I kind of shifted my view to, okay, well, these are really big issues and the church isn't being honest. So
it's interesting that even when you were having your own sort of issues and questioning the church, when you first read the CS letter, you were initially almost trying to defend it and trying to look at the church's side. So obviously a part of you still was holding to some of the beliefs, even if you had some issues with some aspects of the church. So then you started listening to Mormon Stories, which I've listened to a lot to over the years. So shout out to Mormon Stories. Any sort of memories or favorite episodes or anything that's important about any podcasts or things relating to your faith journey?
Man, I don't know. I think really every single Mormon Story interview that I've listened to has been so excellent. But I don't know, it's just like just connecting with people, you know, like we had similar experiences growing up in the church or, you know, going on missions, and then things happen, people change, eyes are opened, and people lose their faith. And that's where I was, you know, and like I kind of said before, I've mentioned all throughout this interview is like that when I first started, or when I first decided to take a step away from the church, all that guilt that I felt was gone. And I was like, this feels so incredible. Like, I am so happy. I don't feel like I need to sit and read my scriptures every day. And if I don't read my scriptures every day, then I'm a terrible person. I don't have that at all. I can look at God and decide who I want my God to be. Like, and I'm not an atheist in any way. I am more of an agnostic theist, as I like to. So I don't know. So it was just nice to be able to look at life differently, be able to experience things and not feel that guilt that I felt for so many years.
Mm.
So yeah.
Okay, so you're going on this journey. Where was your husband around this time? Did you read sort of like the CS letter around the same time? Had you been listening to Mormon stories together? Had you been sort of sharing with him your concerns and issues? And was he on the same page, or was he trying to almost still try to make things work with the church?
No, I I honestly think that he was more out than in than I was. I was kind of like ready to defend the church, but he was like, man, it's not that great. um, so I mean, I read the CES letter first, then I was like, Ryan, you should probably read this. And then he read it and we kind of talked about it and like I still tried to defend the church, but he was like, I don't know, more out than in than I was. And then he didn't watch very many Mormon stories. That's kind of my thing. He watched some different interviews and stuff on YouTube, but yeah, we were just kind of living our lives, but also having this faith journey, but still living our lives and just going through the motions of things. And then finally one day I was like, I can't do this. I can't live this lie. Like I feel like I'm out of the church. Like I feel like my heart is not in it anymore. He was like, I feel the same way. And so then we decided to tell our families that we were taking a step away from the church.
Right. So during this period, during COVID, so between 2020 until maybe this year, 2022, you lost your faith, you had these issues. Did you still maybe go to church a little bit, sort of go through the motions, or had you completely stopped attending?
No, so we had actually decided to leave the church in October of 2020. So from March to October, that's when we just lost our faith in the church. Yeah. And I don't like saying we lost our faith because we still have faith. We just don't have faith in the Mormon church. We decide what we want to believe. And I think that, I mean, we're still good people. We still believe in being good, being moral, like being smart in all of our decisions. We just don't necessarily believe what the church tells us to believe anymore.
If you were to list maybe your top 3 or top 5 biggest issues, you kind of talked about LGBT and patriarchy. What would you say some of the biggest issues were that sort of caused you to stop believing in the church?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because those were the 2 biggest, and like the guilt tactics of the church, like making you feel guilty for A, B, and C, but when we told our families, it was just that. And then since we've told our families and have come out of being out of the church, more things have just piled on. Like, yeah, the church history, the lack of honesty concerning that. The church is a huge time and financial commitment that I think should be spent elsewhere, more family oriented. I think 8-year-olds being baptized without full knowledge of what they're getting into, that's a big issue for me. Also going to the temple and not knowing exactly what you're covenanting into, that's a big issue. And that kind of goes along with the guilt tactics. Like, I don't know, they're just kind of hand in hand for me. Yeah.
Something that John talks about is a bit of a lack of informed consent with regards to many of the aspects of church history that we weren't taught. We were taught more of a faith promoting whitewashed history, and we didn't know about many of the issues and troubling aspects, with regards to the truth claims in the history. And you can feel like the church has hidden this, a bit betrayed, and you feel, like you say, you devote a lot of time, money, commitment to it.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that kind of defend the church and saying like, well, there's a reason for this. There's always a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think there's a reason for some things. And I think, I don't know, I think I think there's just a lot of internal issues with the church, that the church is like so far behind the times that they need to catch up, and they need to realize the world that we live in is not the same as it was in the 1820s, you know. And I know that the church has made a lot of different decisions and changes to how it runs, but I think it needs to catch up a little bit more. There's a lot of things that need to be changed, but
I can see a very Orthodox member, me as a missionary, I would have responded to you and said, well, God doesn't change his will or bend to society or follow the trends of the world. That would have been my very missionary
I would have said
response.
the same thing.
But when you think about, for example, maybe the priesthood ban being, lifted in 1978, the civil rights movement in the church held to the teaching that, blacks, were cursed, that they couldn't hold the priesthood. And then it took them a while until, the civil rights movement to then give blacks the priesthood. So you could point out and say they seemed a bit behind the time. Then, even when society was becoming a lot less racist and there's more equality.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So how did your family react when you told them about leaving the church? And did you have any meetings or discussions with priesthood leaders, anything like that?
Not really, not with priesthood leaders. I mean, our bishop is really awesome here in this ward. He understands, he has kids that have left the church. So he didn't really pressure us or anything. I think our family, like telling our family was really hard. My mom, when I met with my mom, me and my mom both kind of talked about it, and then she met with me and my husband later. She was sad, but she understood because she had been where we were at that point. She kind of left the church when she was in college, but I don't know, she was still sad though. But the church had done a lot of has done a lot of good for her in her life, and so I'm happy like that she's still a part of the church. But I don't know, it was hard telling her, but I think it was harder telling my husband's family because they are more to the letter, like we follow this, like
very Orthodox.
They're very Orthodox Mormon. And they were very heartbroken because they have the mindset that they lost their eternal family, that we're not going to be with them in the celestial kingdom anymore. And that's, I can understand that. I can understand where they are. But it makes me sad that they feel that way because we are so happy with our decision. We're so happy with where we are. And they just, in the back of our mind, we're just like, I'm sure they just are so sad for us all the time. Like I'm sure they pray for us and want us to come back, but we're not going to, we're happy. We know where we are. This is what we want to do. This is how we want to live our lives. And this is how we want to teach our children. And they don't really talk to us about it. They don't talk to us about us leaving the church anymore, which is understandable. I understand that. I wish there was more of an open dialogue with them, so that they could understand that we are happy. So that hurts a little bit, but I mean, I don't know. It's fine. So
yeah, because I think in the church, when people leave, they're either considered, apostates. Some people would consider them, they're anti, they've been deceived, or maybe they just wanted to sin, or they were offended, and they wouldn't maybe consider that maybe they have genuine issues that are maybe legitimate, and there's maybe issues with church history that bothers people, and they've come to the interpretation, they made their decision, I no longer believe, and I feel like it's healthier and happier for me and my family to not stay in and continue to believe in the church. Did you get any of those sorts of responses, or have you kind of felt maybe a bit misunderstood in your decision?
Yeah, I felt pretty misunderstood from them, my husband's parents, because I mean, they brought up like, what are you gonna do when your kids want to try drugs? And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna let them try drugs. Like, it's not like that's immediately what we're gonna jump to. Leaving the church, and that's kind of like you mentioned before. Like, I I posted on social media a little couple weeks back, um, about reasons why people leave the church, and I just wanted to say from an ex-Mormon that people don't leave the church just because they're offended or just because they want to go out and party and drink and do all those things and drink coffee and get tattoos and get piercings. Like, that's not mainly why people leave the church. People leave, like you said, because of genuine issues that they have with the church. And I think, I mean, I can say this because I have been in the same, I've been in their shoes. I've been in those people's shoes that say, oh, you're just leaving to have fun. I have been there. I know how that feels, but that is genuinely not what a lot of people leave for. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of, and I don't even know the word.
Yeah, not really understanding and
Yeah.
empathy, probably
Yeah.
for the journey you're on, the issues that you
Mhm.
have. Yeah, and I think there needs to be more transparency. I think there needs to be more dialogue, more love, more empathy, even if people disagree. People have different beliefs, they can draw different interpretations. But it's sad. It's good. It seems like it hasn't broken up your family, but
No.
which is good, because that sometimes happen. I think that's really good on
Yeah.
them
And
as well, that there's still that relationship.
I'm so lucky. Like, we are so lucky. There's so many people that don't have that. Like, their families kick them out of their house if they're younger than 18, or they just kind of shun that people that leave the church. And I'm so lucky that we haven't had that. So it breaks my heart when I hear that people have had those experiences. But no, I'm really, really happy and lucky.
And it's probably been nice that both you and your husband have been sort of on the same page most of the time. You've kind of been on this journey together, and you can almost support each other in a way, because
Mhm.
mixed faith marriages can be difficult as well. Not that it can work, but it's probably in a way easier that you're both either in the church or out of the church.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so just in closing, I want to ask, you talk a little about maybe spiritual experiences growing up. How do you interpret those now, looking back? And where would you say your faith is now? Like, do you believe, you said that you're sort of an agnostic theist. Um, so it sounds like you're kind of somewhat believing, but you don't really know if there's a God. What about, Jesus? Maybe just talk about where your beliefs are now, and what things maybe you take away from the church that you're still going to maybe hold to. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I mean, personally, like, my spiritual experiences that I've had in the past, like, I still believe that they were spiritual experiences. But personally, I don't believe that every spiritual experience should be tied to a religion. I don't think that that needs to be. I think, when I think the most important relationship that you have, in like a religious aspect, is the relationship between you and God. And like I said, yeah, I am an agnostic theist, so I'm not quite sure. Who knows if God is out there? I believe that he is. But I believe that spiritual experiences are tied to God rather than tied to a religion. I don't believe that my experiences that I've had in my past were tied to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I think they were tied to God, and the Spirit and Jesus Christ. I think that that's my journey. That's my belief. And and I want to say that, like, I'm a firm believer that people should believe what makes them happy. And if the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints makes you happy, awesome. That is so wonderful. If being an atheist makes you happy, awesome. So great for you. If believing in, I don't know, the Teletubbies makes you happy, like, good for you. Like, whoever you want to believe in, like, it is so wonderful for you. Whatever makes you happy. But I also believe that nobody should have to fit into a pretty little box, and that makes you believe the same things. I think that's a big thing in the church. How if you don't believe that prayer is real and that you can have a connection with God through prayer, then, I mean, work on your testimony. You need to work on your testimony. You got to believe in it, because that's what the church teaches. But I just, I don't know. I just want to say I am happy in what I believe. I think that people can be happy if they choose the church. People can be happy without the church. And I think there's quite a few elements from the church that I do want to incorporate into my family life. Like, I want to teach my kids to be great, wonderful people, and to love people unconditionally. I don't want them to judge people. And I think a lot of the members have that mentality too, that they don't want to judge others. So I think that's something, I mean, I want to teach them to be able to figure out if they do believe in God. I want them to have that agency to choose if they believe in God or if they don't. You know, they are their own person. I don't want to make them believe anything that I want them to believe. So, yeah.
I love that. And you've said that, you already said this, but so where you're at now, you feel you're happy, you feel like you're in a good place. You know, I don't see any tattoos. I don't see,
I do have one.
You got one. Okay.
Yeah.
Of
I
course.
got one of my dog, but I didn't leave the church to
Rebellious.
get a tattoo.
Don't believe you. That was the first thing you wanted to do.
I know.
Well, McKenzie, it's been really good. It's been awesome just to, catch up and see you again. It's been years. It's been nice talking about like the mission experiences, and you seem really happy, and that you've made a decision that you feel is right for you, right for your family. You're on this faith journey and you're still trying to figure out what you believe, and so much of your story I think I personally resonate with and can connect with, and I just hope that you can find happiness, find meaning in your life and community as well, and you're on your own spiritual journey, and just want to know that you're still one of the most awesome people I've met.
You're
so nice, so smiley, so happy, and I'm here if you ever need me as well. But thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for watching this interview with McKenzie Lee. It's been awesome. If you've enjoyed this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Mormonism with the Murph. And if you care to donate, you can to my PayPal, stephen.murphy1996@outlook.com. And I will see you all very soon. Take care, everyone. Thanks, McKenzie.
Thank you. Bye.